Most of the things we throw away aren't actually useless, they're just inconvenient. We live in a world designed for replacement, not repair. When something stops fitting our needs, our style, we label it as waste and move on. But what if waste isn't a material problem at all? What if it's a design problem? That question became the driving force behind my Genius Hour project. How can reclaimed materials be turned into a functional lamp while reducing waste and environmental impact? What motivated me was noticing how often usable materials are dismissed before we ever stop to think about their potential. I wanted to explore what would happen if the design process began before the buying, the building, and the discarding, right at the thinking stage. What I discovered was less about designing an object and more about redesigning the way we think before an object even exists. When I started this project, I didn't begin with a finished design. I began by imagining the kinds of materials that would be available: scrap wood, leftover hardware, pieces that have already been written off. None of them would be perfect, none of them would match, and nothing would be straight. And at first, that really felt like a limitation. But that limitation forced a shift in thinking. Instead of asking, how do I make these materials fit my plan? I had to ask, what is this material already capable of becoming? That single question changed everything because it moved the focus away from control and toward possibility. When you design with new materials, you assume perfection: standard sizes, clean edges, predictable outcomes. The design comes first, and the materials simply follow. Designing with reclaimed materials removes those assumptions. On paper, I had to account for warped wood, uneven dimensions, and limited quantities. The design couldn't be rigid, it had to be adaptable. Instead of asking, how do I make materials fit my design? I had to ask, how should the design respond to the materials? This approach challenged me to think more critically, anticipate problems earlier, and justify every design choice rather than relying on convenience. The biggest success of this project wasn't a finished lamp, it was a finished plan. A design that respected the materials instead of fighting them. The drawings reflected flexibility, the wiring paths prioritized safety, and the structure focused on balance and function, not appearance alone. Every choice on paper was intentional. I'm proud that the design didn't rely on perfection, it relied on thoughtfulness. Designing this way showed me that sustainability doesn't come from last minute fixes, it comes from decisions made early, before anything is built, bought, or wasted. On paper, I could already see the environmental impact being reduced by simply choosing reuse over replacement. These were challenges too. Designing without physical materials meant anticipating problems before they happened. I had to imagine where things might fail, where a joint might weaken, where a wire might rub, where weight might shift over time. At times, the design felt limiting or overly cautious. There were moments where it seemed easier to simplify the design or fall back on standard solutions, but those moments forced deeper thinking and better planning. I learned that good design isn't about speed, it's about foresight. This project changed how I see sustainability. We often treat it as something physical: recycling bins, finished products, visible results. But sustainability actually begins much earlier. It begins on paper, before anything is thrown away, before anything is purchased, before anything is built. So here's the takeaway I want to leave with you. Waste doesn't happen when something is discarded. Waste happens when something is poorly designed from the start. If we design with intention, especially when we design for reuse, we reduce waste before it ever exists. This project didn't just explore how to design a lamp, it explored how better thinking leads to better outcomes. And sometimes the most powerful environmental impact we can make starts with a pencil, not a product. Thank you.